Good evening, everyone. How you doing tonight? This is Tom from the North Carolina Cryptid and Paranormal Project, and I have some guests tonight. We have the Bronxville Paranormal Society with Bryan Bowden and Al Santariga. Hey, guys.
How you doing,
Hello.
Tom?
Thanks for having us on. You can drag Al to the top if you want, and I'll go to the bottom.
Doesn't matter. I'm fine right where I am.
Oh, he likes
All
that
right.
extra space.
All right.
Cannolis.
Yeah. I haven't had some of those. I haven't had some of those in a long time. Speaking of cannolis, it's funny. I was talking to my cousin Joe Glorioso, and he's actually a male person in the Hamptons of Long Island. He was telling me some crazy stories about the Hamptons. I was like, oh man, I feel for you, brother.
Yeah, there's some weird
stuff. I can imagine it's crazy out there. Some weird people, strange things go on out there.
Well, you had some crazy stories when you were a postal worker. Like you had someone say that they saw something that looked like the Green Goblin from Spider-Man with William Dafoe, right?
Oh yeah, no, I had some really weird experiences, without a doubt. Between the Green Goblin and the Son of Sam stuff. You know what I mean? I had some crazy stuff happen to me over the years.
Talking about ghost stuff, your dad Al had he's going fishing out there. Remember that story?
Oh yeah, my father had a ghost sighting out of Montauk that to the day he died, he swore it didn't happen, but his best friend would get goosebumps on his arms when he talked about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, hello everybody in the chat. We got Steve, Riley, Ada, Lori, Marquetta. Who else?
Got a lot of ladies in your chat. That's nice.
But Sheila, Eric Ogle, Richard Reed, and I think that's so far. Yeah. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to our podcast tonight. We're gonna be, we got the Bronxville Paranormal Society. We got Al the Godfather, and we got Sir Bryan Bowden. So it's an honor to have you two guys because a lot of people have had you guys on their podcast before talking about their cryptids, but no one's really got your paranormal stuff, your ghost hunting, paranormal. Investigation. So I figured why not give everybody a taste of that because that's something that no one's really done a whole lot of recently. Everyone's got like your Dogman, werewolf, and UFOs, but you guys are a paranormal society group and you cover everything. So let's get into that.
Al, can I just tell? I think I told you this the other day where I'm going tomorrow, and about my buddy.
Yeah.
I'll get into here's your ghost stuff, and this is what's very interesting. It's a quick one. Al wasn't involved in this one, but I sure as hell was. I don't really sleep very well. I'm sleeping better now than I have, but usually stay up late at night. The gears go and trying to figure out how to save lives in this world. I had a friend that long time, good buddy, he's like a brother to me, and recently he literally he wasn't feeling well, so I told him, listen, if you better get to the doctor. I'll drag you there. This was about 2.5 months ago. And he's like, no, I'm fine. I'm eating celery or whatever. He's trying to change his food habits. I said, no, you need real drugs. You need, penicillin and steroids, whatever. Couldn't breathe very well. Non-COVID related, mind you. And eventually he just called his brother up, and his brother dragged him to his medical practice, and the practice couldn't handle him. So they sent him and said, you got to go to the hospital. So he went to the hospital, and he's about 40 years old, mind you. And after the tests that were there, they discovered lesions on his lungs, his spine, and his brain. So he had stage 4 cancer. So he's a very God-fearing man. So am I. We used to have conversations religiously every other night for hours about what's going on in the world. And, and his one thing is his faith in God. And he said, I don't fear anything because I'm, God's with me, which is what God tells you to do. So I said, yeah, no. And I'm there encouraging him, like, fight this. You can win this. You're young. Everything's good. So I was texting him. He got to a point where he was going through radiation, chemo, whatever, and he couldn't really talk. He was very weak. So I kept texting him. And, I hadn't heard from him in a couple of days, like about a week, and I was getting a little bit nervous. And, I kind of had him on my brain. Well, Saturday night comes, and it's about 12:30 in the morning, something like that. I'm up, everybody's sleeping, and I walk and I went to do something. And as I came out of this one hallway to get into my kitchen, I caught a glimpse out of my right eye of my friend. He was standing right there. It was one of those matter of fact, like I saw him and then I quickly turned again to see him again. I'm like, and I'm looking, and I said, Bryan, he's been on your brain. Relax, just take it easy. It's probably something, your mind over doing tricks. Well, Sunday call comes and it's about 8:00. This was last week, and his sister called me and he passed away. So I will be going to his birthday is today. I'll be going to I think visitation is what they call it. But I just find it very interesting because I think that now looking back on it, it wasn't that he was on my brain. He stopped and paid me a visit, and I will find out whether he did pass away that Saturday night or not. And I think he did. So here's your ghosts that come in.
Mm. Yeah, that's just and that happened to my mother all the time, Brian.
Yep.
Whenever anybody in the family passed, whether she was in New York, Italy, or Florida, if someone passed, they came to her, she'd seen them, and she would call New York and say, check on this one or check on that one.
Yeah.
And there was always I only had one premonition in my life, and that was when my father died. Okay.
Right.
He came to me the night he died, or I guess the moment he died, he came to me, and it was New Year's Eve, and I was sitting there with my wife, and we were just chilling out, and we had like 2 house parties we were going to go to, and I was like, we're not doing anything tonight, and all of a sudden around 11 o'clock, I got a cold chill that went up my spine. And when I tell you, when I closed my eyes and I shivered, I seen my father in his youth, at his favorite lake that we used to go to all the time, waving goodbye. Like I was driving out, leaving, we had neighborhood barbecues. The whole neighborhood would go. I mean, literally 1,000 families would show up, and it felt like I was in the car leaving the lake and he was leaning over and just waving goodbye. And I turned to my wife and I said, my father just died. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I said, he just came by to say goodbye. And then the phone rang and it was my brother. He was still at the hospital.
Yep.
And I go, I know Daddy died. And he goes, how do you know? You're the first person I'm calling. And I said, he came by to say goodbye. Yep. And my brother freaked out. He goes, stop. You're getting like mommy. Stop. And I was like, that was the only premonition I ever got in my life. So that just shows you the kind of bond you had with this guy, that you were his first place to go to on his way out, So I got goosebumps just hearing your story and talking about my story.
But when we talk, we talk about everything, but when we talk about ghosts, when we've done a ton of research on that too, and things are a lot more connected than you think, but we're going to stick with the ghost stories and that paranormal. But it's interesting that it always comes to the people that are believers or should have been believers. Hi, McKenna. And it's a refreshing thing to have this happen. Like I'm sure Al was like, you get that pit to your stomach thing afterwards, but it's a nice gesture from someone who you love or you respected or you felt was like family, and you can't explain this to other people. Al, how many times? I mean, how many experiences have we had or you've had alone, and you're like, nah, I'm not even going to bother telling them because they're going to think I'm nuts.
You get first of all, hi Marquetta and everybody else out there.
Yes, hi Marquetta.
Yeah, we get gut feelings. I had my cousin call me tonight, another cousin, Brian. And this is like the third one.
It's got like 50 cousins.
And she's like, my house is going crazy. My bathroom doorknob is jiggling. This, that, and the other thing. She's like, my mother's aide, who is like a sister. She comes and takes care of my aunt. She's 96 years old. And she has channeling sessions. And she channels my uncle, who, of course, my cousin was her father's little baby, daddy's little girl.
Right.
And freaks my cousin out when this nun starts channeling him, So she called me today and she was freaking out. And I said, listen, what you want to do is next time this woman starts channeling your father, ask him a question that only your father knows. And I said, when you ask him the question, don't have the answer in your head. Have something else in your head, because if this is a trickster working through this woman, it can read your mind if it's an entity, and it'll give you the right answer. But if you want the answer to be green, you have to think blue, you know? And she's like, wow, that's great. I'm definitely going to do it. Because now I've met this nun who takes care of my aunt. On 2 or 3 occasions, I've gone over to visit. And when I'm there, this woman runs out of the room. She never sits down with us. But the other homemakers that come and take care of her that are just nurses, they'll sit down and have coffee and cake, and then we'll all talk, you know. But this particular woman who does the channeling, when I'm there, she runs away. I don't know why. But
it's the same thing that happens every time you and I go on an investigation when we do the preliminary. You go one way, I go the other way. It's a classic. This is how we go to investigation, and we go and explore, and we get the same feel. You know, and I'm like, there's something here, and he's running, or it's running from me. It doesn't want to be anywhere near me.
When we get to the doctor's house, we'll talk about that, because we actually had that happen to us at the doctor's house. But starting off with Letchford's Village, I had a friend of mine come up to me and say, hey, listen, I had a couple of friends go to this insane asylum in Rockland County, New York, and while they were there, the girl had her hair pulled. One of the guys got pushed down a flight of steps. They were being harassed the whole time they were there. And when they were in there, they got a phone call from an unknown number. So they answer, they pick it up, they go, hello. And the guy on the other side goes, hello. And they're like, who's this? And the guy says, this is the Rockland County Police Department. Your phone just called me, dialed 911. Wow. And she's like, no, we did not call you, you know, because they're not supposed to be in there anyway, you know? Right. And she's like, we did not call you. And the cop goes, well, I got a 911 call from this phone. And then it hung up. So she's like, well, he goes, where are you? And she said, we're at Letchworth. And he says, okay, leave now. And she's like, okay, I'll leave. And she freaked out. So she told me the story. Then I met 3 other people who are young college kids, and they told me basically the same thing. The girls get their hair pulled and the guys get pushed or scratched. So of course, we got to go there, you know. So we go there. So we call our psychic up, and the psychic says, there's an old lady there, and she hangs out down by the, what do you call that room where they put all the dead people, Brian?
The morgue.
The mortuary,
morgue.
Right?
Yeah, the morgue.
The morgue, right.
The morgue area.
And she knows you're coming, and she's very excited to see you. She can't wait to see you. So we're like, okay. And she said, be careful. You will get pushed down steps. You guys will get scratched. There weren't any girls in our group, so we don't have to worry about anybody getting their hair pulled or anything like that. Yeah. And so we went there and we started. We didn't actually.
Time out. One more thing she stated was she's having a hard time because there was a lot of blood. See this big field, and there was a lot of blood, and it was wars and fighting. But she couldn't make heads or tails of it. What was going on there? So that was something else that she put in there. But go ahead.
Yeah, and it was, you know, at one point it was all Native American land. You know what I mean? So, or she could have seen. I think she actually did say she's seen Native Americans and Revolutionary War scenes too. You're right. I forgot all about that. Thank you, Bryan. And,
no problem.
And then we went there, and we started off in like a main, not the hospital, but one of the
side rooms, the side office, like
side buildings. You know, it's like the administrative buildings. And we were going through there, and we got those photographs, and it was like we had orbs following us down the hall, coming back, even on the road, going from one building. That's called a village because there's like 24 giant buildings on this property. Okay,
just to give you a size of the size of. See, a little bit of history on Letchworth before you continue, Al.
Go ahead.
It's on 28,000 acres. Okay. And it
What
was,
what part of the state is this? Is this like
it's
northern
Rockland County.
Rockland County.
Rockland County? Okay.
Right. And the reason why it was created, it started out smaller, was, you know, for a sane, you know, a sane asylum almost. And then what happened is it started taking all the dregs of society, people born with defects or slow and
Well, back
mentally
then in the
challenged.
early days, if people were born with like retardation or mongoloidism, they would send them to
Yeah.
places like that because the families didn't want nothing to do with them. So they'd send them to those mental institutions, and they lived there their whole lives. And that's kind of
Or
yeah.
bastard children, you know.
Yeah.
There were no abortions at that point, that maybe legally, you know, maybe there were some backroom deals done, but you know, if a woman had a child out of wedlock, it was not a good thing, and the baby was just dumped at that place. And in that place, just so you know, they did the experiments and the testing. I believe it was for
They did shock treatment and all that stuff.
they did shock treatment, some
aneurysm, lobotomy.
Yep.
Yeah.
But they also tested for I think it was tuberculosis, if I'm correct.
Yeah, it was TB.
Yeah. And basically,
and polio too, I think.
And polio, and they tested on everybody from age 1 month up to, you know, as old as they had them there. And a candidate that won, that was successful, was anybody that lived was good. You get it? So this is how they were doing their testing back then.
Yeah, they didn't test on animals; they tested on humans.
They tested on human beings.
Yeah. So we go and we have all these. There's tons of literature. I mean, there's people's personal files. There's all kinds of stuff. They just packed up and left. They left everything behind. It was brutal. Eventually, we make our way into the main facility, the hospital, and we break up into 4 different groups. Everybody's like 2-3 guys on each team. Everybody on a different floor, so we don't corrupt anybody's EVPs, you know. And there's no power to the place. So if the K2 meter goes off, that means there's some kind of entity setting it off, because there's no power in the place. No, and we all had headlamps on. And we're on different.
Question, real quick: did this place have an indoor, like a crematorium for the unclaimed bodies or that died? Because a lot of places like that have those. They have like a crematorium place on site for the dead that no one was claimed for, so they burn their bodies on site in like a smokestack, crematory area. Was there one of those there or no?
I've never seen one there. I never heard of that there. But what I know that they did do with the bodies was they had a Letchworth cemetery, and they would just dump bodies there left and right. No names, just drop them off.
Sorry, Al, go ahead, bud.
No, that's okay. No, if there's any questions, don't hesitate to ask them. So we go into the main hospital, and we break up into 4 different groups, and we're going. Bryan's upstairs, I'm downstairs. We got two other groups in between us, and I'm walking around down in the basement. And I passed this elevator shaft that's opened, but the elevator is not there. It's on a different floor. And I get like the worst vibe, unbelievable, negative vibe, unbelievable.
Right.
Go over to it. I take some photographs. I don't see anything. The EF meter doesn't go off. And I'm with Tom that day, Bryan. I remember Tom, the old man.
Yep.
I'm with Tom. And, I kind of took Tom under my wing that day because it was his first time out. And so we're going through. And then as we walk to the far end, and we look in the rooms, we take some photographs. As we're walking back around, again, I get this bad vibe at this elevator. I get to the hall, and I turn back, and I just take a picture down at the end of the hall. And I can't see anything at the time because the camera, really small 2-inch viewfinder on it. So I was just working with a little digital camera. And afterwards, I know I sent you the picture. It's in your group somewhere. You see a 7-foot shadow figure all the way at the end of the hall.
Yeah, I saw that. It's crazy. You can see the big silhouette of a body.
Yeah, and a big head over the door jamb. Yeah.
Right. And on top of that, you can see what looks like an older lady with long gray hair at the back with those shadow people. That's what's cool about it.
I didn't
But
see that. But I'll go
yeah,
back.
I don't remember that photograph.
Just
But
zoom into that picture. Pinch zoom into it, and you'll see it.
the
It's
same
different.
picture with the shadow figure at the back.
Yeah, I sent them. I uploaded all those photos
Huh.
to.
I never noticed that.
I'll use a bigger screen next time because I was using my phone. When you got your phone, you only got like a 2 by 3.5.
So
Right.
anyway,
Sorry about that.
we're going now. We're on the radio. I'm telling everybody, let's rendezvous on the first floor because I'm in the basement. And remember, Anthony goes crazy because Anthony gets locked up on like the 4th floor.
Yeah.
He can't get out.
He's freaking out. This guy's
He's
freaking
kicking
out.
the door. He's kicking the door. The door won't open up. He's on the radio. Come get me. Come get me. And the guy I'm with is freaking out because he thinks we're going to get locked down in the basement. And I was like, don't worry about it. We're on the basement. I'll kick one of these windows out. We'll go out a window, you know?
Yeah,
And
seriously.
so we get Anthony out. He gets out. And he gets none of the doors locked. There's no locks on the doors. But whatever he was dealing with up on the 4th floor wasn't letting him out of the room.
Right.
You know, it's just locked the door on him. And he couldn't get the door open, you know, and him and I don't remember who he was with. I think it may have been
Was it
Bob,
Paul?
the camera guy, right?
Yeah, possibly.
And,
No, definitely Bob was with him.
And I think they were trying to get the door open. 2 full-grown men, they couldn't get the door open. Then all of a sudden, the door opens by itself, you know.
Yeah. And,
so we rendezvous down on the 1st floor, and as we're in there, we hear voices. You want to tell this part of the story, Bryan?
No. I was just gonna go, and you can go tell that one. But getting back to what you were saying when Al was talking about the elevator shaft, he was in one area, and I kind of went like, even though there was people with me, I kind of went my own little way. I was being drawn to, you know, the where I felt there should be things or something was going on, and I went into this one area where it's the elevator shaft. And I kind of went around the elevator compartment, and at only one split second, I felt something like it. As soon as it came, it left. But let me tell you, every hair stood up. I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about it, and it was like electricity going up my spine.
Yeah, there was something in that elevator shaft. I think, yeah.
I didn't say anything to anybody until well after. And Al and I had the same thing. As it came, as soon as it came, it left. You know.
So now we're up on the 1st floor, and we're all rendezvousing, and we're getting ready to call the psychic to get to like what's going to happen next. Right. And a group of kids come out of nowhere. Right? There's like 3 boys and 1 girl. They're like 14 years old.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
They're 14 years old. So they're standing there and they're telling us they just got an EVP down at the morgue from the old lady telling them, and they played it back for us. And it's a Class A EVP. It says to them, "What are you doing here? Like, I'm waiting on those other guys, not you. Get out of here. You know?
Need to get out of here."
Yeah, something to that effect.
So yeah.
So I turn to the kid and I say,
"You guys use all that stuff, right? Real quick, you use EMF meters, ghost box, spirit box. You use all that,
everything. Yes.
All of it. We have EVP meters, K2 meters, Ovilus, EMF,
phonetic generators.
I use weather apps because when there's electricity around there, you need to know if there's lightning. I use a tri-field meter, which is one that looks like a Y.
And it's like a periscope.
Like a periscope. It has a green and a red. And we just try to, cover as much bases as possible. I was also using a full spectrum camera that I converted myself, a Faux Pro, and I had a UV light there, and it's awesome. It's probably one of the best cameras I have for a little piece of, nothing.
Nice.
So anyway, we got these kids. They're letting us listen into their EVPs, which are Class A, and like I said, our psychic told us that the old lady was excited that we were coming, and she was going to show herself to us. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and we don't know where we're going to run into her, but we're looking for her. So at one point, I say to these kids, I said, "Do your parents know that you're here?"
Right.
And they're like, "No," because none of them did any protection prayers. None of them did any saging. They were just like walking around in flip-flops. The place was a disaster. Yeah. So they're like, "No, nobody knows." I said, "Well, where were your cars?" And they're like, "Oh, our cars are in the back of the building. Nobody can see them." So then I turned to Bryan, and these are 14-year-old kids. They're, like 5 foot tall, right?
Remember, 5 boys, 1 girl.
And all of us, like,
I would have killed her.
everybody in our group is 6 foot plus, right?
Right.
And I turned to these kids. I turned to Bryan and I says, if we kill these kids right now, no one will ever find them.
They'll never find them.
The
horror on their
face.
face.
They turn white as
They
it
just,
goes.
yeah, we
They
can kill
thought
them
we
right
were
now.
gonna kill
And
them.
I started smiling and I said, "Stop! Don't do that! Stop!" and I could have sworn one of those kids soiled himself. But
Yeah,
I said,
probably
this-
made them piss their pants. Probably.
Well, what they did was leave after that.
Yeah,
left
they
'cause
left.
we wanted the
Come
place
back.
to ourselves anyway.
I got a question from Ada. Can you see it on the bottom?
Aida.
Yep.
Let's see.
sometimes it does. And
Yes.
Ada says, "Is it true that
Yes.
when there's lightning, more paranormal activity occurs?" Yes, yes, yes. It's an energy source, and it makes it easier for them to manifest.
Yeah, it charges the atmosphere. You could taste the electromagnetic energy in the air. You could feel that energy. Yeah,
Negative
absolutely.
ions or whatever the hell it's called.
Yes. So we go and we're walking through, and we call the psychic, and the psychic says, "Okay, when you get down to the operating room, you're going to find a board game, and it's the name. It's going to start
The
with
letter
the letter
O.
O." So we're
like-
all laughing, hysterical. Like, what are we going to do? We're going to go down there and find Operation. That's what we're thinking.
Operation.
That's what we're thinking.
And
It was
then,
Othello, wasn't it? Othello.
yeah. On top of that, though, she said that's where there's this doctor that was literally an SOB. He was experimenting on people.
Sounds like Dr. Mengele,
It was basically a torturing kind of, like he was like really got off on this.
Yeah, he did experiments in children
right.
down there. They actually had body parts still in jars and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sadly, that stuff like that was like, back in the 60s and 50s and even before that, a lot of doctors were into that because they got away with it, and there was no regulatory rules and stuff to keep them from, breaking those kind of laws. So yeah, it's sad.
Yeah.
So we get down there and we spread out. The operating room is not that big. We spread out and we're looking for this board game. There's one table in the operating room that has a broken down TV on it, of all things.
A big butcher block table with a 1960s TV. Sorry, Al. I'm just trying to set it up. And one more thing, if you don't mind.
Go.
Being the New Yorker I am, I went into every aspect. When you get into this room, you go down this hallway. There's the meat lockers to the left of you. Just before you enter this operating area where they did probably the autopsies.
Yeah, they had an autopsy room too.
Right. And it was like one giant room. And then there was a little area in the back that led into a very small room. So I went in there, and I want to see where the entrances and exits are to make sure, one, you should always have a plan on getting out. And two, just to know what may be coming and where. So in the back room, there was nothing there but like sinks. It overlooked the operating room. You can wash your hands up, and that was it. There was no openings. The only way into that operating room and that whole area where we were was through one door. That was it. And that was behind us. We were all in that room.
So we're all in this room and we're looking for this board game. And we got our headlamps on and we're looking, and nobody's finding anything. And then I think Anthony says, "Look at that." There was a metal pipe coming down out of the ceiling, right?
Right.
And it started shaking. It was going like this. So we're all looking at it because right next to it is a piece of string. The string's not moving, but the metal pipe is moving. So we're all looking at it. We're taking pictures. And Bryan, you had your black light with you.
I had my black light, but one of the things we did was to get some kind of interaction with something there. We took one of the guys that was with us on the team, a guy named Paul, and we said, well, we need to shock him. We need to do treatments on him. Doctor, we need your help to give him the treatments. So we were doing like a role play thing, trying to get this thing to appear. And we were being nasty, like, well, doctor, what are you afraid? Or what? Kind of challenging. We don't normally do this. And that's, and after that, the piece that he's talking about, the conduit, it seemed to hit into something. It made a noise because we're all focused this way, and we heard a boom. Now, nobody that was near it had anything that would hit into it. That thing moved by itself, and it was just doing that afterwards.
Yeah, and there was nobody close to it, within arm's reach. And Bryan goes over with his black light because he thinks, well, maybe there'll be a handprint on it. You know what I mean? So he's looking for fingerprints, and there's no fingerprints on it. The pipe stops shaking, and then Paul is behind us, behind me, and he starts screaming, "Look at this! Look at this! Look at this!" What happened?
You were talking. We were talking about some things, and I just happened to notice, and I said, "Al," and you kept talking because we just keep talking all the time. I said, "Al," and you were like, "What?" And I said, "Look at the table." And you're like, "What are you talking?" I said, "Look at the table," because we were all having a conversation. We were like around.
I was taking a picture of Paul in the corner, and the doctor was above him.
Right.
There was a ghost above Paul.
And that's in one of the images we shared on the group.
Yes.
So take a look at that.
We think it's the doctor because it's all in white.
He's literally floating with his body like this in the corner.
Right above Paul. Paul is taking a picture of me, and I'm taking a picture of Paul. Right. And then you said, "Look at the table."
I said, I interrupted him. And he's like, I was, like he's doing something. I said, "Look at the table." And we looked down at this table, and what's on the table? You go tell him.
Hand to God. When we tell you this, there's a Ouija board on the table.
Shit. Yeah. Oh, wow.
There's your letter O.
And
I
a
got
planchette.
goosebumps just
Ouija board.
Check this room out behind me. It's very active tonight. I've seen all kinds of stuff already. There's a Ouija board on the table, and I'm screaming. And if you listen to the video, because Bryan's filming, I think we were streaming live on Twitter that night, and Bryan's filming, and I'm screaming, "Don't effing touch that planchette. Don't do it." And it looked like, Tom, it was from the 1800s.
Yep.
And where it came from.
Like it was wooden. It wasn't like the old Warner. Like
100%. It was like
wooden. It wasn't like the Monopoly style. It was like a wooden style board. Yeah. Those are old.
A wooden planchette, not like the plastic ones.
Yeah.
It was the most bizarre thing in the world.
Bizarre.
Not that Milton Bradley shit. This was like old school, real deal.
This is weird. But the reason why he was screaming out, because I was going to do the same thing, because we have a couple people that were with us that we brought along. They like to have souvenirs, and I'm like, "Don't touch that damn thing." They don't care. These are the people that don't believe in it. They grab the planchette, they take it home with them, and the next thing you know, they're hacking up the family.
As a matter of fact, I think it was, what was the dude who always hung out with Paul?
Alan.
Alan picked it up and hit me with it, tapped me on the head with it or something, and I almost knocked him out. I was like, "Dude, don't ever do that to me again. I'll lay you out right here in this goddamn operating room. I don't want that thing. I don't even want to touch it. Never mind have you touch me with it, And it just blew everybody's mind. And I think the doctor who was in the corner above Paul was making that conduit move on purpose so it would draw everybody's attention to it. And then him or whoever else was there made that Ouija board appear on a table. When I tell you there was nothing on that table but a broken down TV, it was mind-boggling.
I'll give you an example.
Did you put the picture? No, we had video of that, right?
We had video someplace. Listen, folks, I have it on. It should be up on the site. If it's not on the site, it's in a drive, and I haven't put everything up yet. I have a life. And a wife.
You guys posted plenty of pictures in the North Carolina Paranormal group from the Letchworth investigation. So if anyone goes to the group, if you're members, look for anything Al Santariga or Bryan Bowden posted in the last 2 days, and you'll see exactly what they posted.
It may be in some of the Letchworth videos that are there. I'm not sure what's going on with that. I don't remember. It has been a while since we did this investigation.
Yeah. Hey, Marvin.
So, it's funny. We have the website up, but it seemed to be that more and more people are just utilizing Facebook for the most part. So we started utilizing social media as well as like YouTube to put our stuff up. But you will see a photo of. It's really funny. I review them. You'll see the photo of this guy Paul taking a picture of us. It's like a picture taking a picture. And I looked at it numerous times. And one of the things I do is reviewing the evidences. I play around with the colors, the color wheels, the red, the green, and And when I lightened that thing up, I mean, you could see him. He's just in a lab coat up above this guy's right shoulder, and he's just floating there. It is the weirdest thing on the planet.
And I actually sent 2 photographs. One with the picture of me taking a picture of Paul with the doctor in it.
Yeah.
Because that was, we had our lights off. We were just using like the UV and the IR lights, right? And then I sent another picture that's in your group that I sent of us with our headlamps on. And you could see the room bright as day. And you could see in that corner where Paul was sitting, there's nothing up there that you can mistake for like a humanoid kind of shape. You know what I mean? So I made sure I sent both of them.
Yeah. I mean, because I was second guessing, like, was there a light there? Did they have that there? Was it? Nope. There was nothing.
Yeah, it was just the craziest thing. And then
it's a half body. It's just like the lab coat.
Yeah, it looks like a head on a lab coat.
Right. And the eyes, where the eyes are just like these black circles.
Yeah, they're big too.
Black
circles. Black circles. They are. They're big. Yeah.
It just didn't. It gave
Speaking of eyes, I had to throw on my blue block lenses because getting old sucks. You know, I'm 44 now. I went to America's Best Eyeglass last Saturday, and they prescribed me some bifocals
blue
for
blockers.
Reading.
Yeah.
So, I actually got a prescription these are blue blockers for the computer, but they actually prescribed me they did the whole vision test and they told me I need glasses. So next week my glasses will actually be in. They'll have the anti glare and all that, but these are just blue block lenses for watching like TV or a computer, so it doesn't hurt my eyes. I strain my eyes from reading close up. So
someone's arms are just a tad bit too short. That's what my dad said. If my arms were a little bit longer, I'd be reading it fine. Yeah.
So we call the psychic up again. We tell her what we find. She's freaking out. Just freaking out. Okay. The energy of the place wiped her out for 2 weeks. She said, Al, I love you, but don't ever ask me to do that again because that just took too much out of me. Yeah. But she does go on to say that the old lady is waiting for you on another floor or whatever. So we go and we do our thing and everybody splits up because who's ever on the first floor now rotates to the second floor. Everybody's rotating. We're doing EVPs and all kinds of stuff. And I'm sitting, I want to say the second or third floor. I don't remember which floor was on. And I'm at the end of the hall. And I'm just taking pictures. 1, 2, 3. Right? We always do 3 at a time, right? 1, 2, 3. Not noticing anything on the photographs. Again, the camera's real small. It's pitch black. We got headlamps on. I go home and I look at the photographs on my computer. And in those 3 photographs, you see a blue mist starting to create in the middle of the hallway. There's this giant blue mist. And then this blue mist turns into like this blue plasma.
Yep.
Almost looks like lightning,
Yeah.
And then it turns into an old lady's face with like buns, her hair in the buns, a big nose and a pointy chin, like an old witch or something. And it just was unbelievable that she showed herself to us that night, just like the psychic said she would, And that picture to this day is one of those pictures that just blows my mind because it took 3 photographs for her to actually develop into that old lady, And I caught her in all 3 stages: the blue mist, the plasma, and then the actual image. And Tom's got it, ladies and gentlemen. If you go back and you look, you'll see the 3 things. Brian sent it, I sent it. Right. Exactly how I took the pictures. I think Brian's is a little out of sequence, but mine is exactly the way it was supposed to be. Right. And but this place was just so off the charts. But like I said, and Brian will validate this. Ghost. What was the name of it? Ghost Adventures were there.
Ghost Adventures were there.
Were there that spring? They were there.
Wow.
And they said there was something with white eyes and with a backward turned legs. It was dark. It was evil. The whole place was evil. You know what? I got this 7-foot shadow figure in the hall. It didn't look like it had bent back legs. It looked just like a huge person. Wow. Yes, there was something dark in that elevator shaft. If it was living anywhere, that's where it was living. But we took pictures of the morgue of the.
Right.
I think did Paul go in one of those things too? Did we close Paul in one of those?
I think I think Paul did close.
Yeah,
He went in
we
on one.
put one of our guys, Paul, in there.
Yeah.
Paul was our orb guy. The guy, no matter where he took a picture, there was always orbs in it.
Right.
We put him in.
I seen a lot of orbs from the pictures you guys posted. It was, I mean, some pictures you got like 10 orbs just lined up.
It's
crazy.
Crazy.
Don't get me wrong. There is some dust there that will give you like an orb-like feature. We definitely were trampling around a little bit, but a lot of the ones that are really solid, have dimension to them, are, in my opinion, actual orbs. They're the real deal.
Yeah, if they're lit from within, that
right.
I believe they're real orbs as well. Yeah, I mean there were some dust particles. We were inside, so there wasn't any moisture in the building, but there was definitely a ton of dust and asbestos and everything else.
I mean, as old as that place is, I'm sure there's asbestos in there and all kinds of contaminants that you're breathing in. So
after a while, I had masks because I was doing some, I think, sanding of walls in my place. So I gave everybody a mask to wear, surgical mask at the time.
I had the thick ones, the heavy ones, and Bryan had the surgical ones, and his were just more comfortable. Everybody went with his.
Yeah.
And we gave the kids the mask to wear too, after we scared the hell out of them.
You scared the shit out of them kids. Yeah. You give masks.
Something
and Sage too.
Something I wanted to address. I think it was Odessa that was talking about something about somebody who got chased and they went into the basement of an asylum and it jumped in a well. They never came up. There are a lot of reports at this place, Letchworth Village, of similar situations where people go in buildings never to be seen again. I have a friend who's up on the police force up in that area. I think it's a Clarkstown or I don't remember the name of it. And being a friend of the friend, you get a little bit more of an inside scoop and stuff. But there have been plenty of calls where individuals have gone in there and they've never been found, ever. So what's going on there and why they're dying or what's happening, I don't know just yet. They really crack down on getting, people going in there now. It's not a joke. They don't want anybody in there.
Yeah, we actually went back for the second time because we wanted to do the temple, the
synagogue,
the synagogue, and we kind of got into the synagogue a little bit. We couldn't get in deep,
right?
But we went in there and we did a little bit of AVPs and stuff in there, and we went back into the hospital, and it looked like at some point somebody had set the hospital on fire.
Yep,
and it burnt, like the whole bottom floor went up. And once they did that, they basically just put steel fence around the whole place, and you can't get into anything anymore. You could still walk the grounds because they're park-like, but we were able to get into a whole bunch of different facilities on the property and do a different. And like I said, there's tons and tons of information, patients' information at these locations. I mean, they never even got rid of it. And then they were going to do is that they were going to bulldoze all this land, all these buildings down, and build a Lego park.
A Lego land.
Oh, God.
Lego land.
A kid's attraction for all.
Oh, my God. On top of this haunted land. It was so insane.
So speaking of kids, real quick, did you guys use triggers for like toys or stuff to get the kids, the kids' spirits to come out and, when you did this?
No, I don't remember.
Toy balls or
I always bring lacrosse balls with me because they're like that fluorescent color, orange and yellow and green, and they're heavy. They don't usually roll if you walk by them.
Right.
And I had those, and I also bring little jingle bells.
You bring cats toys, like little cat toys. You have like extra cat toys.
And the jingle bells, I never heard the jingle bells ring at all the whole night we were there. And what I did was I would put the ball on the floor and circle it with a UV marker, and then this way I could hit it with the UV light to see if it rolled out of the circle. But the balls hadn't moved. No, none of the balls moved, and none of the jingle bells went off that whole night. If anybody's got any questions, don't hesitate to ask us.
I got a quick question Brian.
Sure.
Do you have something to say, Brian, before I ask?
No, I was just going to tell you that, like, overall, there wasn't anything like, I never got like a negative vibe about the place. Al had an experience with a negative something, but I never got a negative vibe. In general, it was a pretty interesting place. It seemed to be very free, and it was a lot of chaos. I got the feeling of chaos, but not like, my life was ever in danger.
Yeah.
No, I never felt anything dark or negative, like Ghost Adventure said it was there. No, I never felt.
So my thing is, I grew up with one of my childhood friends. Her name is Lisa, and from New Jersey, and her mom worked at an institution kind of like what you guys investigated. This was called Marlboro Mental Institution. It was in Marlboro, New Jersey, and after a while, it shut down after like the late '90s because it ran out of state funding. But as late '80s, her mom was a nurse there, and she tells us about all these crazy stories about these tunnels they had under the hospitals, and it connected all the buildings. And they would, if someone died or something happened, they would just go underground and walk through these tunnels. Did the place where you were at have these kind of underground tunnels that connected all the buildings together too, or no?
Yes, but we couldn't get to any of them. Yeah, they were all sealed off. We couldn't get to the underground tunnels. We tried.
There's a tunnel that goes from the grounds where the majority at 99% of that hospital is. The big hospital and the little sub buildings made up probably of dormitories and doctors' offices, that goes for miles through the property and comes out where the cemetery is. We went to the cemetery, but this is reportedly a couple of miles. I mean, there's a significant distance out from where the cemetery is versus where the hospital is.
Yeah. But there was no signs of the path or the underground tunnels at the cemetery. We looked, we didn't see anything. So they may have bulldozed it down and then covered it over and stuff like that, because those tunnels went underneath what was their property. They actually sold the property off piece by piece and made a huge country club and golf course. So I'm sure those tunnels ran underneath the golf course.
I'm sure they did. Same thing happened in New Jersey with the Marlboro place. What happened was it used to be like a drug rehab and a detox. They stayed open for like till 20 something. And then they knocked all the buildings down. They turned into a golf course and a country club. And then they built a whole new building on the other side of that part of town for all the rehab facilities. Because this place has been around since like the 1890s, and it was ancient stuff. And half the buildings were abandoned. We'd go sneak behind the gates, behind the security, get past security, drive around at night and sneak in the abandoned buildings and just take pictures. Your little, your Nokia, your Nokia 4700 phone. That's all you had back then. So, and a little, Duracell 3D battery
it's 600
flashlight.
pixels by 600 pixels.
Everything was blurry back with those phones, but
it was good at the time. But
no, we actually ran into one of the security guards when we were leaving the main facility, the where the doctors were, the building, right? And we were going to the actual hospital itself. We met a security guard and we asked her, remember what she told us, Bryan?
Yeah.
About the lights? She said, you guys have to go to the cemetery. She was on patrol at the cemetery one night, and she said she was just sitting in the car, doing the patrol. And she said 3 beams of light came up.
Light columns.
Columns came up out of the ground. 3 beams. She said, I don't know what they were, and I wasn't sticking around to find out, she said. And she got out of Dodge as soon as she said, when things come out of the ground, I'm out of there, And
but
of course we, that's why we had to go to the cemetery after that. But
I bet those people that work security probably have the best stories to tell and the best locations to tell you where to go. So that's awesome.
Well, what's great about our interaction with all these people that do work there, I don't know how we do it. I guess it's our trustworthy faces or this nice guys, but we usually craft relationships with these people. and they thoroughly enjoy it. So they tell us other places to go, but on the plus side, technically you're not supposed to be in these buildings. And
Right.
when you have a nicer relationship with somebody and you ask these security guards that never get asked questions, they just, a lot of people think of these security guards as the hired help. Treat them with humanity, and they will not only tell you some good stuff, but they'll look a different way when you're going through that building.
I was just gonna say they're not gonna run you off the property. If you treat them with respect, bring them a couple donuts, a cup of coffee for the late shift. They're like, yeah,
Yep.
go down to sector, section 8, and you'll be, section 7. For now, I'll turn my head. So
they actually told us where to park so that when the cops drive through at night, they won't see our cars.
Oh, absolutely. That's
and
great.
She said you can see the cops coming from a mile away. When you see them coming, shut off your headlamps. And they never get out of their cars. They just drive around the facility and they look for parked cars. And if they don't see them, they leave. She goes, and then you can put your headlamps on and get back to business. This is what the security guard was telling us, because we made such a good impression on her. Like, look, we're not there. We were all grown men. You know what I mean? We weren't any kids. We weren't high out of our mind. We didn't have any alcohol on us. We were there. We had, cameras and all kinds of equipment. We were there to do it like a professional job, And she understood that. And she's like, all right, park your cars back here. And if you want to get into this building, you got to go through on the east side. If you want to go into that building, you got to go through on the south side, Gave us all the inside scoop on everything,
Right.
She was very cool, and they were very cool. And it was an amazing investigation. I mean, my God, the stuff that just the stuff we brought back from there, and then tell them about Anthony. Right, Bryan. Anthony was driving with Bryan.
And this guy is just, he was a piece of work, closet alcoholic. He's, we go into the initial buildings, and I don't mind driving some people there, but this is my family vehicle, right? So we'll take what we're going to take there, and that's it. He likes to pick up souvenirs. I'm like, what are you doing with that? Goes, I'm taking it. I'm like, you're not putting it in my car. And he's like, well, what do you mean? I want to take it. I'm like, well, then go back up here with your car and take it. I don't take anything from these sites. Not a thing.
No.
Because you know what?
Stuff back with you,
You don't know what you're bringing back with you whatsoever. It's very interesting. On the early part of the investigation, I have an audio recording. I was trying to find it because it's fantastic. You hear us talking about, like, well, maybe we'll try the other building. We're trying to plan things out. Say, well, and then someone says something like, maybe there isn't anybody really here. And all you hear is this giggling sound. And it sounds like a really big guy just like having a giggle, but like someone who is mentally challenged, and he's just like kind of giggling, and it's class A giggle.
Oh, wow.
And, you review it and you hear these things, which is insanity.
You can tell it's like a deranged giggle. It's not like a normal mentality. It's kind of like a deranged.
It's like an adult with a child's mentality.
Right.
Yeah,
it's
a simpleton giggle. It's not like like an evil. It's just like, I'm going to play games with you type of thing. Where some of these, my mother used to work with trainable mentally retarded individuals and help them to, move them into a little bit more into society. So I've been around people that have these different situations, and I know exactly what it is. They think it's funny. They'll play a little game with you. I've also been around a couple of them that were not kidding, and they're very,
strength. Super strength. Yeah.
There's like a super strength that these people somehow acquire. It is unbelievable how strong these
they lose one sense and they gain some sense in another form, so they have that that almost like a supernatural ability. But real quick, have you guys ever been touched or scratched?
Yes.
Okay.
Al, have you been touched or scratched?
I've been touched many times. Absolutely. Yep. I've had attachments a couple of times at a couple of different locations.
Yeah, you have.
But I don't think I've ever been scratched, but touched, yes, on multiple occasions. I get touched all the time.
Yeah, I get touches a lot. Not just in that Letchworth area. I kind of felt like, I thought someone was behind me. That feeling, and you look and no one's there. and you register it. You make a mental note of that. But I get people all the time. I get someone playing with my ears, just gently brushing against them. And where I'm sitting in my home right now, again, I'm 7 stories up, and there's a foot of behind this lovely piece of cloth. It's a window, but I'm a foot from the window. There is absolutely nothing behind me.
Right.
And I will get somebody playing with my ears, and I'll say, "Look, I'm not in the mood. Please stop." And then it stops. So yeah, I've been touched.
Next question: anything ever follow you guys home?
No,
Not that I'm aware of. No.
not that we're aware of.
Well, you bless your stuff. You pray it. You do sage. You do all that to protect yourself to keep that from happening. So, right?
Yeah, I always tell everybody, you have to sage your equipment when you're done with it because you're using that equipment to make contact. And if you make contact, what's to say that something can't attach itself to your equipment and come home with you that way?
Right.
A lot of people sage themselves, but they just pack their equipment up and go home.
Right.
And I was listening to a radio show the other day where a researcher was saying, "Oh yeah, ever since I brought something home, now I sage my equipment." I'm like, well,
why weren't you doing that
you
first?
should have been doing that the whole time. Because you're using the equipment to make contact, So if the entity is going to make contact with the equipment you're using, that means its energy is attached to that piece of equipment at that moment in time, whether it's an EVP or a what do you call that? An obelisk that's spitting out words or whatever. You know what I mean? So you have to cleanse it.
When we start, we'll tell you straight up, we talk about this all the time. No matter if you're paranormal hunting, like ghost hunting or Squatch or whatever, you should always protect yourself. So we burn sage in the beginning. We sage all of us. Each one of us, our equipment. We let the smoke go at sage smoke go at our equipment, and then Al does his prayers, usually, our Father, right? I'll do a traveling prayer of protection. We have other people in our group sometimes. We've done ohms. We do this Holy St. Michael prayer. And then on part of that is Al will, Father Santariga will come out, and he will anoint everybody's head with oil. And he'll spray some holy water, or what we call agua de Dio, or it's our secret formula for protecting people. But Al goes around and he anoints people, and I have to be an asshole, and I always go, "Oh, it burns, Al, it burns," and he's like, "Can you cut it out?" So
little exorcist lingo,
Yeah,
but I will say this though. I mean, when we not only do we sage our vehicles too.
Oh yeah.
We don't want anything coming home with us, so we hit those cars before we leave. Because when you open up those doors to get in to put your equipment in, who's to say something doesn't come in with you as well?
Yep.
So we hit our cars, we hit everything with sage and holy water and stuff like that. So we go above and beyond, and we've even ratcheted up a notch since the beginning. I thought we were above and beyond in the beginning, but we're even way beyond that at this point. Yeah, way beyond. But you want to go to the doctor's house?
Well, hold on before we leave.
Okay, before we leave,
something that's very important.
Go ahead.
So we're grouped together. We're trying to figure out where this place is going to be. What's the best option? We meet at one location. What's our best option? What are we going to do? This is how we're going to tackle it, right? And one of the guys there, this guy Alan, who formerly with the Air Force, he says, Rockland County has a couple of old nuclear silos and bases underground. We should really check those out. And it sounded really good. I'm like, oh, that sounds pretty interesting. Like, why not? Al was on board, like, whatever. So we thought nothing of it. He goes, you know what? Let's go do this, and then we'll plan another trip, and we'll go check those places out. So we do this whole investigation, and the next day, I believe the psychic Cindy calls Al up, and she goes, "What are you planning?" And Al's, what do you say? Like, what are you talking about? No, what are you planning? And I said, he didn't understand the frame of reference. So she goes, what tunnels you planning on going into? And then it kind of clicked. And he goes, well, there was these tunnels that they told us about after. She goes, don't, you're not going in those tunnels. And he goes, well, why not? And apparently she is in Arkansas, okay? In the middle of the night, like 1 o'clock in the morning through his sleep, she is transported to the tunnels. She said they were pitch black. And staring her in the face is this hideous, most hideous creature she's ever seen in her life. She couldn't even describe it. And it told her, don't go in those tunnels. These are my tunnels. You don't go in these tunnels. She got up from her experience. And there's a difference between dreams and real experiences. There's a big difference. So much so it scared the hell out of her enough. She got out and at 3 a.m. was salting her entire property and saging her house. And ever since that phone call, we never went to the tunnels.
Yeah, we were in the planning process, and we were just spitballing what's the next thing to do. And the Ramapo ammunition depots were not far from
And
Letward's Village, and it was in Ramapo, New York, which was a Ramapo Indian village at one time.
New Jersey.
And we were going to go there and we were look into it. And she's like, and she calls me up and she's freaking out. And she goes, I seen this creature came to my house or came and got me or whatever. She goes, don't go in those tunnels. They're all connected. And she's Native American, right? She's Cherokee. And she didn't know what to explain. Like she was explaining to me what it looked like. So I sent her an image of a Wendigo and she freaked out. And she said, yes, that's what lives there. It's a Wendigo. Don't go there. And we just scratched it from the board. We're like, no, we're not going there. To hell with that place. You know what I mean? Because she said it goes back to the Ramapo, Native American Ramapo Indians when they were fighting with the settlers for the land. Right. They cursed the land when they got pushed out. And when they got pushed out, this thing apparently was living in the mines in the mountains. Yeah. And then they built these ammo depots in the mines, and it was like this thing was already there, and it just took over everything. And she's like, "Don't go," and I was like, "Don't worry, I'm not going. I'm not dealing with a Native American demon. That's out of my."
This is no joke, by the way.
They're cursed by the Native Americans as the Wendigo spirit to curse the land for as many years to come. So, that's freaking crazy.
Yeah.
Who knows? That could be 1,000-year curse. Who knows how long they curse the land for? So,
again, if I posted videos, I posted a link to the video, the playlist where a lot of this Letchworth Village stuff you can be found on the YouTube, Bronxville Paranormal Society YouTube. It's also on our Facebook group. It's also on our BronxvilleParanormalSociety.com. Our website. Yeah. We're just trying to make it easy for people to go through it, and enjoy some of the things that you. Has Alan Bryan ever come across a ghost?
You missed the intro, so yeah. But if you want to recap real fast, if you want to just give him a little.
Okay, so my friend was sick, Carlito, and I've been worried about him. I haven't heard from him in a couple of days, and last Saturday night, I stay up late. I came back from, the hallway where my bathroom was using the bathroom, come back, and out of the corner of my eye, see what my buddy standing there. And I did a quick take the look to see if I can get a better look. It was gone. So this is, late Saturday night, possibly early Sunday morning. I said, no problem. I said, Brian, you probably have it on your brain. You're worried about him, which I was. He's like a brother to me. And then Sunday comes along and get a phone call from his sister, and I find out that he passed away. He didn't make it from his treatments, and then it started clicking with me that it wasn't just the fact that he was on my mind. He 100% made an appearance to probably let me know I'm okay, and I have a feeling I'm not going to be. I have a feeling I'm going to be seeing him again or his presence again in the future. That's how good a guy he was. So, it's interesting. So I've seen several ghosts.
I had my very first ghost sighting when I was 5 years old. My my grandmother used to live with us. She was elderly. She had her own room. My brother had a room. My sister had a room. My parents had a room. I used to sleep in like a little foyer area. They threw up like a little cot in a foyer for me, and that was my room. It was in between my mother and father's room and my grandmother's room. And at some point, my grandmother passed away, and I got her room. So when I would say the first week after she passed, I was sleeping in her bed, her sheets, the whole 9 yards, because she didn't pass in the house, she passed at the hospital.
Yeah.
But for the first week, she would come every night and tuck me in. She only spoke Italian, she didn't speak English, and she would tell me in Italian, don't worry, I'm just here to tuck you in, because she always used to tuck me in. That was like her thing, I was the baby of the house, and she used to tuck me in, and so I would tell my mother and father. My father say, "Oh, get the hell out of here! Your grandmother's buried up in the cemetery." And my mother would say, "Okay, I understand, but don't worry. It's just your grandmother, and she's just here to protect you." And when I tell you, she was standing next to me, like she was standing next to me right now. She was alive and well.
Like she was, yeah,
flesh and blood. Like she was flesh and blood. That's how she was standing there, talking to me in Italian. Yeah. That was my very first ghost sighting at 5. Yeah.
I mean, it's very interesting when you get a sighting. It's not this apparition like you can see through it sheer all the time. I mean, a lot of people do see like things that are sheer, like you kind of can translucent. But in general, a lot of the images or people that have seen specters or ghosts or loved ones or whatever, it's pretty real. I mean, it's solid. It looks like them. My kids get this all the time. So it is what it is. But it's always family members, and they're just there to protect you anyhow. So
what's crazy is right after my mom passed, the room that I'm in right now, before I turned it into a studio and a gym. When she'd come visit from New Jersey, she would stay in this room. She'd sleep in this room, and not like maybe about a week or so after I came back from her funeral, I started noticing. I wouldn't say encounters, but I started noticing things were moving in this room on their own, and I'm like, "Is that you, Ma?" Because like things would fall. I have like a weight belt and some like weight things hanging from screws on the wall, and just little things would like fall over on their own. And these are things that don't fall over without being manipulated by either a hand or something pulling on it. So I'm like, wow, blew my mind away. But I guess it was her telling me that she's here, everything's okay, and she's kind of with me still. So that made me feel good.
Yeah, once
were you the
always
baby?
apparent.
Were you the baby of the bunch?
I'm the only child. I was the only child. So
you were the only child. That's even more. Oh, wow. Because
Yeah.
I had 3 different psychics tell me my mother is always with me. Now, I've never seen her here. I've never smelled her perfume. I've never felt her touch. But I've had 3 different conversations with 3 different psychics on the phone about totally different things. And all 3 of them told me, my mother is with me all the time. All the time. So I don't know. I mean, everybody says she's here. So I'm going to take that at face value because these people wouldn't lie to me. And
just to answer the question from Man of Light, no, it wasn't at 3 a.m. It was a lot earlier than that. It was around, it could have anywhere from 11:45 to maybe 2 a.m. I usually, it's funny when I sleep, if I barely sleep, I always get up and I know it's about 3:00 in the morning, anywhere from 3 to 3:30. And what's interesting is, I don't know if you want to call it a gift or an ability or I'm just nuts, but because I know I am. But there's been a few times, only a few, I know someone's standing right next to me. I'm on the bed, and they're just staring at me. And twice, I kind of got a fear thing initially, and I'm like, oh, the hell with this. I'm too tired for these games. And I turn around, and nothing's there. Another thing that happens to me all the time is when I'm lying down to go to sleep, and I go to sleep very late from everybody else, sometimes at 3 a.m. When I'm lying there in bed, I feel the bottom by my feet pressed down as if something is sitting on it. And our psychic, actually, who I've never ever asked her for anything personal whatsoever, unless it was too close. It was an incident with my youngest child, but I said, she was the one that contacted me. Literally, I didn't even tell her. She says, "Your father's here. He's talking to me." And I knew my father would go to her because she's she's a very attractive woman. She's good looking, and he, he would go to the path of least resistance to get to me, and she told me everything. He said, she was spewing things left and right. He should have done this. He was, he's sorry. You got screwed. Blah 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 blah. He wants to come and visit you, but you don't sleep. You need to go to sleep. And he'll be by you when you sleep. And true to form, I feel him a lot. I'll feel his presence. Or the best is he's a cigar smoker, and I get that smell of cigar smoke every once in a while, knowing where there's no cigar smoke in this house. I'm in an area where I'm just gonna, I have fans blowing right now to get whatever I have smoke wise out, but there's no cigar smoke, and the difference between cigar and cigarette smoke. So, yeah, pretty interesting.
Tom, have you ever smelled any of your mother's perfume in that room?
I've never smelt her perfume,
Okay.
but sometimes, like when me and Lori are in our bathroom, sometimes we have like those three lights above the sink by the mirrors, and they'll just start all three of them. It's not just one, because you can tell if it's one flickering, maybe the bulb's about to go, but these are all three light bulbs will start flickering out of nowhere. And I'm like, yep, that's probably my mom telling us to stop freaking, fussing over something stupid,
Probably, yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
It's kind of creepy though, because I believe the afterlife is you can pay attention to the current life. So if you're on the other end of the veil, what's going on. You can watch people, but I don't think they take it. It's not like it is here. There's not that much worry. It's if there's a purpose, they're going to do it. But it's a little bit freaky knowing that people can pay attention and watch over you, and be in places where you shouldn't be. You're like, look, give me 5 minutes. I'm in the can, okay? You don't have to be sitting here watching me while I'm going to the bathroom.
Oh yeah, that's weird, because I had I have some healing crystals, and I think it was like right after my mom died. I had one of my healing crystals was sitting on top of a toothpaste tube on my sink in my bathroom, and I didn't put it there.
Wow.
These crystals are like either on my nightstand by my bed, or they're in a drawer in the nightstand, and I don't take them out unless I need to hold on to them, and I don't ever move them from that spot. So when I saw this crystal on my toothpaste tube, in the bathroom on the counter, the sink counter in the bathroom, I was like, that blew my freaking mind away, because I was like, Laura, did you do that? She's like, no. I'm like, well, somebody did. It wasn't me.
It's weird. I mean, I think purposely when people take stuff from you, or things go missing, I think it's signs from ghosts actually being in your world or your life, coming and taking stuff, and there's been a rumors, or you should try, if you're missing items that were formerly there, it may be a good thing to recognize, look, I don't know who you are, but I need that back, so can you please return it? And 9 out of 10 times you'll get that product back, or you'll get something returned to you, that was taken. Like, Al, you still can't find what you cross?
No, I have 2 diamond pinky rings that have disappeared, and a baby Jesus just gone.
Yo, they kidnapped the baby Jesus. That's gangster right there.
Pinky rings.
They took your pinky ring, so nobody can kiss your pinky ring when you go.
They took my diamond pinky ring and the
baby Jesus of all things. We're gonna go on a ghost hunt. Kiss my ring.
The 5 sit down, and you tell them to make an offer your camera fuse.
Yeah, exactly.
But let's talk about the doctor's house.
Doctor's house.
Doctor's house.
Give him the background of the history of it, though.
Okay, so we get invited up to Pine Bush to do a paranormal conference. It was the first year they were doing the Paranormal Center, and we get invited up. And in the middle of town is this huge mansion that they call the doctor's house,
right?
Because the doctor who lived there, he was a town doctor. He lived there, and when people couldn't pay him, he just put them to work on his house. And it just kept adding to the house and adding to the house and adding to the house. And it became this monster of a home. It was just humongous. But there was a dirty little secret in town. The doctor was doing illegal abortions upstairs in the attic, in one of the rooms upstairs. And so the doctor's house had a dark vibe to it. And we had met Linda Zimmerman at the Pine Bush Fair that year, and she had investigated the house the year before. And she goes, "I'll tell you what, when you get done and you go through all the evidence, give me a call and we'll go over our notes." And I was like, "Okay, that's fair enough." So Bryan and I went in to do a preliminary walkthrough, a baseline reading, and like we always do, we walk in. He goes left, I go right. And we're just off on our own, doing our own thing. And I may be on the fourth floor, he may be in the basement, pass each other, and stop and meet, regroup in the middle of on the second floor. And he looks at me and I look at him and I was like, "Yeah, something's dodging us." And he goes, I got the same feeling. Something is dodging us. Like, we're not getting any readings. We're not getting anything on the ghost box. We're not getting anything on the parabolic mic. We're not getting nothing, and it's just, there's no way this house should be this quiet.
Oh, it's cold reading. Yeah, cold readings all over, right?
And it just felt like I would go left and something would go by me right. He would come right and something would go by him left. And it was just the whole day we felt. And then so we figure out, okay, this is where we're going to start. This is what we're going to do. Bada, bada, bada. We're going to break this house down again. There was a lot of us on the team at that time when we had invited a couple of guests to come with us. And there was one room upstairs that was off limits. It was the game room. They had a billiard table in there. But the reason it was off limits was there was a hole in the middle of the floor that dropped down to the next floor. So they didn't want anybody going in there because they didn't want anyone to get hurt. So what I did was I put glow sticks around the hole. So people would see the hole, and I put a giant garbage can in front of the door so no one would go in.
Right.
Okay. So the stage is set. We go in. As soon as it gets dark, the house has got a whole different vibe. We didn't even get from the parking lot to the back door, and we had to change out batteries on 3 different cameras and headlamps.
Oh yeah.
We were 20 yards away. We couldn't even get to the front door without it draining the batteries on our cameras or our headlamps. We get in, we start walking around, we start filming, and everybody breaks up and goes in different directions. And
and
go ahead.
Mind you that there was a guy that had a radio show, his name Pat Daniels. Al is talking. He's doing live segments on the Pat Daniels show, and he's doing his own investigation on one side. Again, started off with a couple of people. They drifted off. Some of these guys were playing around too much and making too much noise, doing nasty things. But I was doing my own thing. I was going upstairs. I started from the top down. So I just want to let them know that you were doing work for, you were on air live on the Pat Daniels show.
Yeah, I'm doing a live radio interview on the show. People are asking questions and Pat's asking questions. Right. And he's getting EVPs on his end. He hears people talking and all this stuff. And we go into the abortion room. And this room it's the room, if you go to the photographs I sent you, it's the room with the 2 beds and the pink walls. That's the abortion room. And we're in there, and the K2 meter is going off the chart. It's ice cold, but I'm not getting any EVP. So what I did was I put down the IR camera, and I just let it fill. I put up a laser grid on the wall, and I put the IR camera down, let it film the laser grid, and I left. And I went on, and I'm walking around the house, and so the camera's just filming that room, and then we hear a bang. Tell them about the bang. Right?
Well, before we do the bang, we can actually watch the bang because Tom now has it set up.
Oh, okay.
If you look at the list, if you go back to the Bronxville Paranormal Society, and you look at the list, it's the one on the list, it doesn't have like a front cover on it where it says Bronxville Paranormal Society. It's 3 minutes and 13 seconds, and it's worth every penny of it. So it would be under the Bronxville Paranormal Society Pine Bush, New York investigation. And if you need me to, I will forward you the link to that to your messenger. You can copy that and put it in your Chrome. You want me to do that?
Sure, because if you had the exact, destination to find it, you know exactly what to look for. That would save me the destination search, searching for it to find that exact one you're speaking of. So yeah,
I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to do it for you
send
right now.
it to Tom Cardos though, because this computer is hooked up to Tom, not Thomas. So
okay, so you want Tom instead of Thomas?
Yeah. I know. I'm so freaking needy, right?
No. I just sent it to you.
Okay.
Play that video. Make sure the sound's on for it, and you'll hear exactly. This was one of the best events I've ever experienced, but also had it captured on film. At that point, you should have it right now.
Okay, hold on. Letchworth Village.
Nope. Just go to your messenger, and it'll go directly to that one scene, and you'll hear one of the guys that we invited on the team. Him and his wife. His wife wasn't really into it. We see him at a UFO group, but I gave him something to play with, and he started going with it, and he started talking to it and asking questions. He was getting responses, and something didn't like the response that they were getting. So I'm just going to tell you that's that one. So did you find it yet or no?
Yeah, my Facebook's acting really slow right now.
It's
fine,
that's fine.
I opened up my messenger right now. It's opened up Bronxville Paranormal.
It's worth it. I'm just using two screens here. I got a screen on that side.
Open up. You want me to open it up in a new tab or what?
Yeah, just open it up and copy the link, put it in a new tab on your Chrome. Let's say new file, new tab.
Right.
And then put it in there, and then share that application, and we can pay attention. You can hear it.
Share screen.
Chrome. No, application
window.
Yeah, Chrome.
Okay.
And it should be.
No.
Okay. No. You want to go to whatever the other tab is up there to the right that you want to share. Click on. Yeah, you want to share that tab, the YouTube tab. And you'll be able to do that too. You'll be able to select it.
Okay. Well, while you're trying to find out, let me tell you what was on the camera. Is it coming up? No.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's even perfect. So these are the playlists, right?
Yeah.
Okay, go to the one that said Pine Bush, New York.
All right, Pine Bush, New York.
Okay. And go on your right side, scroll down. You'll see one that doesn't have the black on it. The first one that pops up. Scroll down. Right there. That one. Play that one.
There we go. Boom.
Yep. Is the audio in there?
I don't hear the audio.
Yeah. Check your sound level.
I got cranked up. Hold on. Allow.
Yeah. You got to let them do it. But.
Okay. Let's try it. Can you hear it now?
I don't know if people can hear it.
Nah, I'm not hearing
All
anything.
Right. Well, Al, go tell them what you want me to tell them, or
no. Well. Anyway, what we found on the camera that was filming in the abortion room, right. After we reviewed it, a head came out of the floor.
Yep. And
came up the wall, seen the camera, and then went back down.
Right. And if you want, I mean, it does seem like the sound's going to work on this.
Dark shadow of a human figure, like just shoulder blades and the head, It was crazy.
That one's also labeled, Tom, if you want. There's no sound needed. And if you go back to go to that tab, you know, right now, not like, you know, you can go to that tab that you're playing and just select that screen, that window, the video. It says a head appears.
Oh, you got that on here,
Yeah,
Brian?
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It's
okay.
there. It says
I didn't realize
head.
you had it.
Yeah, I got all these videos. I got objects coming out of my you know what. Yeah. So.
All right. So this is the Flatbush Pine or the Pine Bush.
Yep, Pine Bush, because
Okay.
it's in Pine Bush. We called it the Pine Bush investigation. On the right side, you'll get a list, doctor's house, right?
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, Doctor
And
House.
you'll
Yeah.
say head appears. It says something about a head. I know it's going to say it. I'm just.
I got one that says hand appears.
Now there's a head too.
It could be hand or head. I mean, I think we later determined it was a head. So you can go to the hand appears, and
Yeah, so maybe we labeled it wrong.
Yeah, it's 48
hand.
seconds. Okay.
Yeah, it's not that long, and you're gonna see,
Oh,
and you can
gosh.
see a video while we're saying.
Yeah, damn ads, advertisements.
I thought that was Paul.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah.
But you'll see it right now.
It's definitely
There it
not
is.
Ollie North, that's for sure.
Yep. And that red area is where the hand appears. It just comes right out of nowhere. If
Oh
you see
wow,
it.
I just saw like a perfect
Yep.
hand, like a black shadow of a handprint. Yeah.
It just comes up and then it goes away.
Oh, that was in the bathroom, right?
That was in the same room, that pink
but
room.
that room had a bathroom. I thought that was in the bathroom.
No,
of that room.
that wasn't in the bathroom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's a whole bunch of these videos.
Wow.
And there's one video that's great. It says up, left, right, or it's a combination. It's like third one in that list. I'm walking down this hallway, and when you get to the end of the hall, there's a room straight ahead of me. There's a room to the left, and there's the staircase that running down, right? And as I walk, I'm captured on my full spectrum. I have an object that goes from left to right, into the room. Another one goes from right to left, and three of them go down the stairs. And it does it at a sequence as I'm approaching it. It seemed to me like, you know, you ever gotten to a college party or, you know, and you were cops coming in, people just scatter to get out of the way. That's what it sounded like. It felt like, it looked like. It's a great video. there
was I go back, I'm walking around and I go into the room where no one's allowed to go because we hear what sounds like pool ball, a pool cue, or a ball being like when you break, right?
Yeah, when you break.
Yeah. So that's what we said. So we go up into the game room because no one is supposed to be in the game room. And it sounds like someone just broke for a game of pool. So we go up in there. The garbage can, not only is the garbage can moved, but there's mail on the garbage can.
Yeah.
Like the Daily Mail. Somebody put their mail on. I'm like, where did this mail come from? If you find the video, you hear me in the video saying, where the hell did this mail come from? It wasn't here when I put the garbage can here. And it was like a whole pile of mail. It just appeared out of nowhere. And then the glow sticks that I put down around the hole were moved, like somebody had kicked them.
To purposely get you screwed up and go into the hole.
Yeah. So I had to reset the glow sticks again so no one would fall through the hole. And we ended up going into that room and just investigating it at that point because there was just too much stuff going on.
There's a point where Al's not up there near that pool room, but I gave this guy Charlie a device that will one of my phones. It has it'll respond. It has like a phonetic generator, so you ask questions and it gives you like words as a response, and you hear this pinging sound going with it as well. As it gets more intense, it means it's whatever's there is closer, and you're going to get a response. And I videotape inside the room. And now when you walked into this pool room, I'm standing behind that garbage pail that Al put there. There's a refrigerator in front of me about 12 feet in.
I forgot about the
Okay.
refrigerator. Yes.
And then if you come in, it's a big room. It's like it's
Huge.
above a garage. It's like, you know, they opened a big room up. And then if you looked in the room, you look to the left, it's a huge room. That's where the pool table is. And I'm looking at this. I have my full spectrum going, and it's on the video's up there someplace. I have my light in the UV room, and you see something, a guy literally peek in and then peek back out.
Behind the refrigerator.
Behind the refrigerator.
Right behind the refrigerator.
I said, wait a minute. And I'm looking, and I start moving, and I wanted to go in there, but out of respect for the people that own the house, I didn't want to cause an insurance problem or whatever. So I left it be. I go back into another room, but at this point, this guy, Charlie, who I gave my device to, is standing in like this little kitchenette that's next to it. And he's asking questions. Were there children here? Bang, yes. There were children. You know, he's getting yes response. You know, did they hurt the children? They hurt the children. Bang, hurt. Were children's being beaten here? And the next thing you know, you hear something, boom, like in that room. It felt like the whole building was going to shake.
I was in the basement at that point.
Yeah.
And it felt like a car crashed into the side of the building. I was underground and the basement shook.
Yep.
I went charging up the steps. Everybody was running out of all the rooms that they were in. We ran out to honest to God, I thought a car hit the building, and I ran around the whole building looking for a vehicle that crashed into the building.
Right.
And they rolled the streets up in Pine Bush at 8:00 at night. Right. It was a ghost town. We were the only people there.
I'm upstairs with Charlie. His wife's like, okay, we need to go now, which I think she probably hates me for getting her involved in this. And I'm like, Al, you know, I'm calling for Al. Because I wanted to tell him what took place, but check the outside. Because you know what? You get into a small town like Pine Bush and you're doing an investigation and somebody hears about it. I want to make sure no one's monkeying around outside. You know, might hit it with a hockey stick or throw a rock at the door, you know, something like that. So, but it was out of this world incredible sound. It was great.
And then we went to the doctor's office. He had a waiting room. And then he had like where the office was, where the receptionist would sit, and he had safes back there. And the energy in that room was just oppressive. I mean, when you walked in there, it felt like you were walking into like sludge. You were being drawn down. It was so bad. I'm on the Bryan's downstairs with the periscope, right? And I come back downstairs. I'm on the phone with Pat Daniels from Utah. I'm live on his radio show. And Pat goes, "Did you just say hi to me?" And I said, "No." And I would be standing next to Bryan.
And we have that video up there.
And Bryan, and then Bryan's periscope lights up. And Bryan goes, "Oh, did you say hi to Pat?" And it lights up
again. And
Pat's like, I heard something on this end in my headphones. Someone was talking to me, you know. It sounded like a person. So it was just, we have so much evidence up there on that investigation. That place was just off the charts. There was just so much, and people. What's his name? Charles's wife had her hair pulled, right?
Yep.
People got pushed. Again, people got pushed. Someone almost got pushed down the basement steps, which were dangerous too, because it was just like your floor, and then there was a hole where the steps went down.
Yeah, it was a tight.
It was, and I had glow sticks next to that as well because I don't want anybody falling down. And people were getting injured. As a matter of fact, our camera guy, Bob, he was up on the second floor, not even on the, and he got so sick. He got sick as a dog. He turned white as a ghost. I had to carry him out and lean him on my car and pour water over his head and give him water and sage him down. And he gave me the camera. He said, "Al, I'm out of here. I'm done."
He couldn't handle anymore. And with respect to anybody that comes along with us, we're not asking you to, you know,
to play
you don't have to be there. If you're not, if something's going on, we want to make sure you're okay. And if you're better off not going in there, we'll be the first ones to let you know that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you know, but I mean, you know, and he was a professional camera guy for like the news crew, you know what I mean? So he had really great equipment.
He got
And-
kind of spooked on the on a couple of these investigations. I think he kind of like, I don't want to press my luck.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, he definitely had an attachment, something attached to him, because he went from being normal, walking and talking and filming, to white as a ghost, cold sweats. His knees were weak. He couldn't talk. You know, and look, there's been a couple of investigations that we were on that in the beginning when I go to do the white prayer,
Yeah.
something fights me.
Yep.
And it's like I can't even think to say the Our Father, you know what I mean? Because usually I say like in Latin or something, and I can't even think to say it. Like something is trying to stop me from saying it. And once I realize that something is trying to stop me from saying it, I usually double down and push through. You know what I mean? Yep. Like, you're not going to stop me from doing this, you know? And I push through and I get it out, you know, one way or the other. But yeah, there are times things just will attach themselves to you. You know what I mean? And
you gotta watch that.
And it may have been because he's carrying his big camera with this big battery on it. You know what I mean? And he's got
energy. That's a big energy source to the battery.
Exactly.
It'll drain out. It'll bring that, you know, whatever.
And maybe it was attached to the battery when the battery is by his head, and it attached to him. You know, and just wiped him out. Just he was done. Boom.
I also think that, you know, certain people, even though they believe that they have the wherewithal, the stamina, and what it takes to be in situations like this, really don't. And these spirits can do it. They can see things and sense things that others that you can't. And they go after the weakest link.
Yes.
Some of it's not like to be malicious or you know, evil. It's like, I want to get out of here. I haven't been here, you know, I've been in here in ages. There's somebody in the chat room, Donnie Cho, who also comes on a show, the Journey Through the Gate with my friend Cisco Murdoch, Paranormal Portal podcast. Wow, that's a lot to say. But she has 2 shots and a beer, no salt or whatever it is. And she has a story where she calls it a jumper. Someone gets jumped. Spirit comes in them. That spirit comes in the bar, or it totally changes the total, the look, the feel, everything about this person. You know, it's like, he's normally a nice guy. Why is he being so nasty now? And it's not him. It's the fact that he got jumped. He got taken by a spirit, and that spirit wanted some tequila. So that does happen, you know?
Yeah. I wonder if, like, what you're talking about, like they can sense your mind, your mentality, and if you're weak minded, they take advantage of that, and if you're strong minded, they know not to fuck with you. I wonder if they can kind of feed off that energy.
I think there's
your innocence, you know.
There's two circumstances I think when you will get an attachment. A, if you have subconscious fear, and you're going into a situation you're already scared to death of, and B, if you're a beacon and they're attracted to your light and they want to drain your energy because they want some of that energy.
Or as I told Al was a year later, 2 years later, we went back there. We're doing another investigation, and I was going some major issues, emotionally, mentally, financially, everything. I was not in a good place. I'm just going to leave it like that. And I said, love you to death, but I'm not going anywhere near that house today. And I couldn't go in that house in that capacity at that point, because frankly, I would have been done. They would have taken everything from me.
Yeah, because you were going in wounded, and they would have just killed you at that point. Absolutely.
When you have a cold, if you're suffering from allergies, if you have a headache, anything that is weakening your immune system,
absolutely,
you do not go on a ghost hunt.
Or even stupid, what you would call Halloween tours.
Don't go on it.
If you're not up to it physically healthy, don't go. If you had a bad day at work, if you're mentally drained, stay home. Do yourself a favor and stay home.
I was lucky enough to do the one ghost tour when I was working in Charleston many, many years ago when my kids were babies, like in 2009, early 2010. And I was working in Charleston, and I was bored as fuck, so I wanted something to do. So I went to I did one of the ghost tours. They did like the Market Street,
Yep.
the jailhouse, and the whole. They tell you the whole history of Charleston. It's pretty crazy and sad. But I was walking through the graveyard, and I had I think at that time I had a BlackBerry phone, and I couldn't. It felt weird in the graveyard, but I couldn't get any good pictures because a BlackBerry doesn't take work.
Yeah, those are crappy, man.
I don't even think it had a flash on it, to be honest with you.
I think you're dating yourself with that BlackBerry right there. Were you wearing a members only jacket too?
That's from 1987.
Yeah.
Don Johnson, Miami Vice days, but no.
Yeah, it's the ghost tours are great. I've been on the one in Alexandria, Virginia. I love it. Actually, when I was again without kids, right? Because you can't. It'd be nice to go a little ghost thingy, like go haunted house or whatever it is. Those amusements with your kids if they can tolerate that. That could be. And you could ask your missus, who's very much in chat. You don't want those psychological bills whatsoever. Like, thanks for taking them on the ghost tour, Tom. And there's your son in talking to somebody for the next 20 years of his life. But we used to do it. It's great. I mean, we would catch a spirit, a lot of orbs, and a lot of it was just weird. It was fun, better than doing nothing in town, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I wouldn't do it with my children. Number one, knowing what I know. Number two, if I did do it with my kids, when my kids got older and they were teenagers and they were going on haunted hay rides and all that stuff, I always made sure I saged them before they left. I did. I mean, as much as they fought me tooth and nail, I don't care what I don't care. Made sure they had a packet of salt in their pocket to protect them, to keep them grounded. I take that stuff very seriously. People think it's all fun and games, and it is. It's very exciting, especially when you're in the cemetery and you're getting results,
right?
Until you bring something home with you. That's not fun and games anymore.
No. Question from you guys:
do you guys think that the older cams get the best pics of ghosts?
As a matter of fact, I told Bryan just the other day, I'm done with digital cameras. I'm going back to old film and Polaroids. That's it. I'm done. I mean, of course, I'll use the digital stuff for IR and full spectrum and stuff like that. But as far as still shots go, 35 millimeter film and Polaroids.
Hey, look, give him the Polaroids and the 35 millimeter film, because at one point he wanted to put the hood over his head and with the gunpowder and
I was thinking
I had the bellow camera like they did back in the cowboy days.
So what camera did you use when you got that nice spectrum picture of that Civil War soldier out in Gettysburg, or you were recently when you showed that
that was great
spectrum photo? It looked like a soldier in the wood line. What kind of
I was using the full spectrum, I think, on that. That was digital, but that was because that's what full spectrum or IR, even what you would call it, the thermals, they're all digital. You know what I mean? So I have no choice there. But I'm saying, as far as still shots and wanting to photograph right then and there, if I want it right then and there, I'm going to the Polaroid. You know what I mean? If I can wait a week to get the film developed, I would. Because you know what? I'm done with blob squatches and blowing stuff up and pixelation and all of that crap. When you have film, what's in the film is in the film, and that's it. Yeah.
There's no like artifacts.
8 millimeter. What about that? Do you think that's worth the one?
No, that's
8 millimeter. I don't even think anybody makes 8 millimeter anymore.
Yeah, they do. I actually saw something. Yeah, they do. They still do. But the processing costs alone on that would be crazy. You want a 35 millimeter camera, which you can pick up for nothing today.
Nothing.
Disposable. You can buy them at CVS for what, $5 now?
Right. And then you'll spend some money on the development, and then all you do is once the development, they're going to do it. You just have it put onto a CD, so then you don't have to. You could actually blow up that negative technically to a larger size. But Vanessa was talking about they don't even go out anymore. They have a ton of stuff on their property, their house. Let me tell you something, folks. My apartment is Grand Central Station. And what's great about this apartment is my wife is finally seeing it. And, that kind of see, I'm not that crazy. But there was a moment I was talking about before, I don't ask our psychic for anything. There was an incident where we had to move the table in our kitchen over to a certain area where it was against everything. So it was just like two sides could be, accessed for work. So my wife was doing work with my youngest, and they both looked up into this corner, and there's nowhere to get to it. And my youngest asked, "Did you see that? Did you see the man?" And my wife did. So I said, "Okay, there's somebody there." I contacted our psychic. I said, "Listen, I'm trying every which way I can to kind of connect and see what's going on, but I think I'm too close to the situation. Can you tell me if it's dangerous or whatever?" Because, I'll sage, I'll do whatever. And she eventually gets back to me. She goes, "You got to tell it to go." And I said, "Okay, is that a bad thing or whatever?" She goes, No, it's not bad. The man's missing half his face. It was blown away.
Yeah.
So, and that, I've said this before, that the younger the kids are, no matter if they're male or female, they're going to have, it's like a sponge. They're open. They're like beacons of light to all these individuals that are caught between earth and heaven, that ether, which,
Right.
we refer to as, Ron referred to it as the goblin universe. It's where all that magical stuff takes place. But in that sea of blackness, anybody that has a psychic ability, especially young kids, if you're in a dark room, pitch black, and all of a sudden you see this little pinhole of light, what are you going to do? You're going to walk towards that light, right? And as you walk towards it, it gets a little bit brighter. You go to where that light is. It leads you out to some of these kids. And you're like, "Hey, can you help me?" And this kid's like looking at you like, "Get the hell away from me." You can have your, you don't realize that you're missing half your face. So it's pretty interesting.
You guys already contacted a spirit and talked to it, right? You said that during the beginning of our interview, correct? You've had a conversation or interaction with a spirit.
Well, if you want to talk about the college stables,
let's do the stables.
We did an Estes session, that sensory deprivation kind of thing,
blindfold,
and the headphones, noise canceling headphones, but the SB7 spirit box was attached to it. Bryan was in a different room, and he is asking questions. And we got the camera running because we're recording. We want to record what I'm saying because I don't. We got two cameras running, one on him, recording what he's asking, and one on me answering him. You know, and something was coming. We were definitely talking to someone who we believe to be the caretaker of the carriage house.
Yeah, there was definitely somebody that was working there.
Yeah, the stables. It was like the foreman of the stables, and I believe there was a small child there too, right? And I think Bryan got a photograph of one of those SLS cameras of either a child or an adult. I don't remember which one it was.
I've got this. There's a couple photos I posted up on your group, Tom, and they're SLS, so you get that stick figure type of thing, and I already know it from Xbox, and it's pretty creepy. Alone, there's a lot about that camera, but this was like, there was definitely something that was smaller than what a normal person would be. Like, I think there's one of the images, there's Al, and then there's this thing that's definitely smaller, like child size in there. And then we also got some kind of blob type of stick figures. Look like a giant spider or something like that.
Yeah, and I think we caught that twice, like once on the floor and once on the ceiling, if I remember, in the corner of one of the stables.
Yeah.
And if you look at the pictures of the stables where we did the Estes session, you could see that it's this stables were built on a mountain because there's rocks.
Yeah,
there's still giant rocks.
Yeah, it's like a foundation, but like cobblestone foundation, cement. Crazy.
But there's giant, like, monolithic stones inside the barn. You know,
they just kind of built it there.
Yeah, they just built it on top of this mountain, and we got all kinds of sky, Brian.
We were told by world-renowned psychic in my book.
Just you might as well name her. Just tell the world.
Katie Turner. If you need a psychic, you want to talk to Katie because she is beyond good. She's freaking fantastic. Miss Aida does readings too, and she's really good too, but totally different type of psychics. But Katie, I guess Al was talking to her initially about it, and she said, "Bring one of the entities there wants tobacco. They're dying for some tobacco.
They need a smoke, Hey,
yeah, they needed a smoke.
One more smoke, Why not?"
So, Tom, I shit you not.
So we brought a cigarette. There's one video that I actually posted up there where it's like, if you I ask it, we're using a tri-field meter. Al's, I mean not a tri-field. What is it? The wand, periscope one. Yeah. Al has the periscope one and I say, look, if you light up in green, you want a cigarette, you want to smoke, you light up green, I'll give you a smoke. Light it up green, and it goes full green. I said, I got you covered. We're going to give you a smoke. So we go over to this one area where we both felt was that strong area where this thing was.
It may have been his office or maybe even his bedroom. He may have slept there because it was a small room. It wasn't really, you couldn't put more than a bed in it or a desk, Right. I think that was his domain. As soon as you went in there, you felt him. He was there. And Katie said we would feel him.
Now, in this area there wasn't breezes coming through. There was nothing like, there was air, of course, but there was no breezes coming through. The outside air wasn't, you could hear the wind blowing too, but it wasn't coming into the building. You couldn't feel it. I had lighters, I lit the cigarette up, puffed on it, I go, here you go. And I put it down and we're both videotaping. And I apologize. I have this video. I know Al has this video too. And my hand to God, this thing starts, the tip goes red and it's
smoking. You see the puffs of smoke come up off the cigarette.
It looks like someone's smoking it, but there's no one
100%.
There. Oh, shit, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was just, we were giddy like school kids when we seen that. That was a first for us, you know what I mean? And that blew our minds. I mean, the SS sessions was the first for us too. And that blew our mind. All the information we got from it.
That reminds me of that movie Ghost. You remember that crazy egg-headed guy with the curly hair? And he's like, what do I do for one more smoke? And he started flipping out on Patrick Swayze because he couldn't smoke cigarettes no more.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was what this was like. Just think about this guy, whoever it was, hadn't had a smoke in like
ages.
Decades. Yeah. So I said, I'll tell you what, buddy. And I had a couple in a pack, and I said I'll put the matches here. They're yours. And I left them those. I gave them that offering. I left them the cigarettes, and we haven't been back to it. Somebody else smoked it.
Katie said, you have to bring tobacco because this guy doesn't like anybody in his space. He's very, very controlling. And she also said there was a small child there, which is what I think that crab thing was a small kid cowering in the corner. Maybe he beat this kid to death. Who the hell knows? But the place was just mind-boggling. It's off of a regular road in the middle of the woods, just abandoned, just sitting in there. And we went in, and then we spent most of the time downstairs in the stables. But towards the end of the day, we went upstairs, and we found like all kinds of chicken coops and all kinds of other, like where they may have had other animals, maybe they're hens for eggs and stuff like that. And we took all kinds of photographs in there. But again, somebody had set one of the rooms on fire, so we kind of stayed away from that. We didn't know if the ceiling would cave in on us, but we took pictures from the outside. But the upstairs had a much darker feel than the downstairs. Much darker. There was definitely something negative upstairs. Definitely.
It was weird. Downstairs is like a little staircase area, kind of like you go up like 6 steps. It goes to the right and then it goes back up the other way, so you can't see the guy going up or down. And I kind of got that shadow play where it would be like something was moving there, and I'm like, can you make your presence known? And it wasn't doing it. I think it was just monitoring Al and I being there, and I don't think he wanted us there. It's like, get the hell out of my house type of thing. But yeah,
I don't think he ever seen anybody with the equipment we had,
Yeah.
because we not only did we catch him on the SLS, but I know I caught him on the thermal as well.
Yeah.
I know I did on a couple of different occasions in a couple of the different rooms. I caught him on thermal. I couldn't find my thermal footage though. I don't know what the hell happened to it. I'll have to.
Oh, it was on your old phone, so if you didn't transfer it out, you're done.
Okay, I'll have to go check it out because I know I still have it.
No,
but
in one of the photos that I have, you'll see that there's Al there, and then there's another and it's cold, and it's kind of just trying to blend into the color. It's very weird, but it shouldn't be that way. It was the only time you see it. And I think it was, there was something there that definitely did not want us to know that its presence was there or want us there.
You think it was
I think we caught the kid hiding in a couple of the different stables. I think we were taking pictures and he was hiding, like watching us. And I think we caught him in a few times, maybe in a couple of different spectrums of light. We caught him because you take a picture and there was nothing in the stable, and then you'd go there and you do it again with like the full spectrum or the thermal imager, and there would be a hot spot or a cold spot or just some kind of anomaly that shouldn't be there, So I'm positive we caught the kid following us. I think he was really intrigued about all of our equipment. And as far as the other guy goes, I think once we gave him the tobacco cigarettes, we were golden with him,
Yeah.
Why do you think they need to hide? This is probably going to be like the last question because we need to wrap it up. It's almost 2 hours.
I know.
No problem.
I love doing the long show. You guys, this is long waited, needed to happen because everyone like heard your cryptid encounter, but no one got your paranormal stuff. So why not, knock this one, get everyone to claim to your paranormal stuff. So Noogie's got a question. Can you read that out?
Why do you think they need to hide? I think because they're from a different time zone, Noog, and the way we're dressed and the way we speak and the equipment we have on us, all those cameras, we're pointing and aiming. The only thing they're used to seeing pointed and aimed at them are guns. Yeah, I think we just scare them. And then I got to say this, and not that I think me or Bryan are anything special, but whenever we're together, our energy, we do, and this isn't just like one or two occasions. On many occasions, we have things that run, and Bryan's got it on the doctor's house, where you see that thing running by him in the hallway. He's going right, it's going left. He's going left, it's going right. I think it's our energy too. Maybe something we burn too bright or whatever. I don't know, but I think they're scared.
I always say it as, it's funny. Like you have a dog, and if you're not the alpha, the dog's the alpha. The dog knows where there's an alpha. You take your dog to a dog trainer, they know they ain't gonna be pulling any of that crap because that guy's the alpha. They can smell it on him. I know somebody used to train German Shepherds and other dogs for not only military but for police as well as shows. And we brought a dog over once, and he wouldn't listen. You put him down, no, and you go by his mouth, he'd bite you. He'd try to bite you. So we bring him over to this trainer, this guy Bash. Bash goes over to check his teeth. He bites him. Bash, he does an alpha roll on him, shows his teeth to him, puts him down on the ground. Does it twice to him. Boom. Second time he tries to touch the teeth. There was no third time. They know. And they know from that point forward, there's something about the energy or your aura that you present that says, don't mess with these people. They have, and Al and I may not be aware of what we have, to be brutally honest, but they know, no, these aren't guys to play with. And also what you didn't mention is kids back then were pretty much slave labor, right? When this place was being built, this was really old. So there was a lot of kids used to work in factories. That's why there's child labor laws now. And these kids probably were beaten to death, or beaten up if they crossed the wrong person. So you'd run too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to be bothered with that. But listen, we need to do this again. We need to do another recap with the paranormal for you too, because you guys have a great,
No, this is just the tip of the iceberg.
yeah,
Seriously.
the iceberg, and you guys are a great team. You do a lot of research with the paranormal on top of everything else. You're not just cryptid and UFOs. I mean, you're the whole trifecta of the whole spectrum. So it was an honor to have you guys on tonight and to hear about your paranormal stuff because
Thank you.
everyone's
Honor was
heard
mine. Thank you.
everyone's heard the Bigfoot, the UFO, the Dogman stories. No one's heard your paranormal stuff. So it was really an honor to get to hear this tonight from you guys because you guys are a great team, longtime friends. You're always supportive of me. I mean, you always give me little, tips over time for my own research. So I appreciate taking me under your wing and learning me a thing or two. So yeah,
Next time we come, we'll talk. We'll take you down the alien highway.
The alien
highway. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Actually, Tom, I'm doing another show. It's coming back, and one of the episodes deals with Fayetteville.
Oh yeah, Fayetteville. Okay.
Yep. So, and there's aliens. I love everybody in the chat. Everybody's great, and I appreciate everybody coming out. Much love to you. If you have any questions. I'm not banned yet on Facebook anymore. But
if you have any questions, you can private message us. We'll answer them as soon as we get to them. Again, thank you for having us. It was my pleasure. It was an honor to be here. Yeah. And thank you to everybody in the chat, for everybody who showed up. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys. And if anyone came in late, just start the video earlier. You could get the whole beginning of it and kind of get out and started and to the middle if you came late. So thanks for everybody coming tonight. I appreciate you all. And we're going to do the exit outro.